And if you haven't,
Arguably.
John, if you haven't lost your will to live, I will take it from you as God is mine.
I'll accept this, but I just hope that it doesn't lapse into the show.
I'll tell you what's lapsing into the show. Your attitude.
Okay. I'm not on Common Room tonight, am I? Because I haven't heard anything about it.
Tonight on the Common Room is myself.
Yeah.
Beelzebub Esrig.
What?
Beelzebub Esrig.
What?
Ellery Smith, comedian extraordinaire. Also a funny alumnus of Ye Olde Happy Half Hour. And streamer Smaystron. We will be having.
Smaystron is on.
We will be having.
Amber has gone too far.
We, sir, have a different. Smaystron is the first cybernetic organism.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, does Smace have a human shell, or is this going to literally be an animation or something?
This is going to be Smace, a cybernetic organism, joining us for the first time, breaking down barriers between human and personal digital assistant.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Man, that's gonna be an exciting Common Room, and I hear next week it's the Boiler Common Room.
Yep, the boiler room. The commoners will have a run-in with our dear friends from the Boiler Room. The publishing team, will be taking.
So if you like our titles, give them credit, and if you don't,
I want to take credit for when I hosted Main Show, it being awesome.
But
the titles were so good.
I'm sure that you did a very good job. However, you had the misfortune of the debut of Ben Dixon's new camera setup.
I know.
Everybody shot was awesome.
You're not the only person who noticed that. Like, I said it to him when we were setting up. Viewers were like, "It's gorgeous."
I mean, he did all the hard work. I'll admit that. But do you know who he asked some questions of? Probably a lot of people. But I was one of them.
Say somebody at Best Buy.
Probably. Perhaps a Sammy's Cammy's.
John, quiet. We're coming to the beginning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report. Hey, Brett. It's weird that I'm not the one that triggers that anymore. It catches me by surprise. Brett, it's Friday. How's it going?
Gosh. Every day at this house, every Friday at this house, we break out some Rebecca Black on a day like this. And not to brag, but she did go to high school for a brief moment with Sophie Morrison, our producer.
There's been a lot of talk about who went to whose high school on this Skype call today.
I want to say something very specific about my frustrations with, I want to say, Skype right now. Because on my new computer by Artesian Builds, where you too can get up to $100 off by entering your TYT code at checkout, sir, it looks gorgeous on my end.
Yeah.
But via Skype, and that's what I've been encountering is my computer is a beast. I want to say 10 to 20 times better than yours. Yeah, because it's got multiple cores.
Yeah, I got multiple.
Just want to say thanks and a shout out to Artesian Builds, who's making TYT hum.
Okay, I'm sure yours is in fact actually better than mine. Yeah, no, and my shot looks great here, and when I stream directly to YouTube, when I stream through Twitch, looks great. Skype, which has been around since before there were computers to run it on, takes any signal and turns it into hot garbage. And there's no options to change that. It's not like you can, if you really want to push it, you can go to 1080. No, it's just, garbage. That's all you get, garbage. What the hell is up with Skype?
Speaking of garbage, I'm also going to, on behalf of the Twitch channel, say there are new garbage people emotes available.
Ooh.
which are gorgeous. Norma
Mhm.
truly outdid herself. Not just on that, but also there's Dragon Squad emotes.
What?
There
How
are
do you get
two.
these?
You
Can you
have
get
to
them?
you have to join. People, oh, it's blowing it up. John is throwing something into a trash can, and also it's green, and there's Dragon Squads, two varieties. God bless you. I see
Let me
them
see this.
flapping now. Flapping.
Oh, yeah, I see the garbage. I like that. That's good. Those Norma did great work on those dragons, although they are horrifying. And I will say that I never once imagined that my face would be a part of it. But
Yep.
but cool, cool. No, they're very cool, and yeah, I was surprised by that. I didn't know that those were coming. But anyway, glad to have you here. Obviously, we're going to be giving people an opportunity to use those garbage people emotes because we're going to be saying who our garbage people are a little bit later on in the program. It's actually for me one of the big stories of the day, and yeah, we're going to be chatting along with you. You can send in tweets and super chats. We'll be reading those as we go. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. That would be very nice of you. We have finally found an excuse to talk about Fortnite on the show, a game I haven't played in like 2 months now, but finally the time has come. And with that, Brett, why don't we get to one of these awesome, huge stories we've got?
Hmm.
Okay, let's do it then. So, for the past few weeks, we've been waiting to see what deal is the Senate going to come to provide much needed assistance on a number of different fronts that the American people had just been desperate for. They're facing this eviction crisis. They're worried about coronavirus. There's still tons of people who are unemployed. And so finally, we've got no, they left. There's no deal. Nope. The Senate has officially adjourned through Labor Day, despite not coming to an agreement on its next coronavirus stimulus package, or to that same sentence could be said a little bit more generalized for public consumption is the Senate officially decided they get weeks off despite not doing their job during an emergency. That's the way I would have put that. Despite the biggest domestic catastrophe of our lifetimes, the Senate came back briefly after a 3-day weekend, did nothing, provided no aid, and then decided they're going to leave for a week so that they can go raise money from donors and stuff.
So
That's what they did.
I have a slightly different take on this, John. In my
Mhm.
opinion, the Senate did do its job. Its job is to make sure that the people who donate to them
Yeah.
are fine financially, and
Yeah.
that has happened. That has happened, incredibly, despite all of this. And the reason for that is that not having aid gets rid of the competition and
Mm.
creates the certain folding of small business, which I think makes this country happen. But the people who come together and donate in large numbers reliably are the big businesses, are the big icebergs that are going to melt last,
Yeah.
and they're waiting for all the other icebergs to just kind of disappear. And so the stock market's doing fine. They have Trump, because of the Senate not doing anything. They hand Trump a quasi perceived win that thankfully didn't resonate as huge as he thought it would. So
With
they
his
made
fake executive orders.
their
Yes.
terribleness has created a situation where Trump can claim a victory by cutting unemployment benefits by 33%, which is insane. But
Well,
yeah,
and potentially you never even get that lower amount. And even if
yeah,
you do, it'll take weeks, but you probably won't. And even if you do, after the weeks, you will probably end up having to pay it back.
yeah.
And I'm assuming that by December we're all going to be rich, so paying it back won't be a problem. Yeah, exactly. And now all it costs for Mitch McConnell to do that, what you just laid out, is that people continue to wallow in unemployment and economic disaster while 1 to 1.5 thousand people die every day. That's all it costs.
Yeah.
Which isn't actually a cost for them because they're okay. They're making huge amounts of money. Billionaires are doing very well. And so here's the thing. We did have an update from Mitch McConnell who said that if some kind of deal is reached while the Senate is on recess, members will return to Washington, D.C. for a vote. And I would have to say that if having them in rooms together with the nation's eye on them, battling it out for 2 weeks doesn't lead to a deal, obviously them all going to different parts of the country and not speaking to each other, that's how you finally get the deal. So I'm sure that's going to happen. And we're not going to suddenly reach September 7th for them to finally come back and start again talking about some possible stimulus.
Taking August off should be a huge loss for the Senate because it's so French. It's the Frenchest thing you can do is take the entire month of August off, and they do it every day, every year, and they need to stop, and they need to suffer consequences of it. Yeah.
So, I'm glad that you said that, because let's talk consequences. Bernie Sanders finds this to be unacceptable, said during the worst economic crisis in modern history, it is shameful that Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans think they can take a vacation while Americans face eviction hunger. No, we can't wait. Get back to work and now, and pass legislation to help the American people. So, but on that topic of getting back to work, if you spent last night on Twitter, you might have noticed that something new was trending, and it started to bubble up when high-profile people, as well as regular Americans, started tweeting things like this from Andrew Yang. If our government doesn't get its act together, a general strike and mass unrest are around the corner. Congress, Mitch McConnell, do your job. I'm sure you will hear the same thing from the people you represent. And as I said, if they were on Twitter, they did, because hashtag general strike was trending at one point #1 in politics. I just randomly snapped that. That's 155,000 people tweeting about it. And so I guess there's a number of questions, but one of the questions is, they have demonstrated to us time and time again from the very beginning and on through to ever increasing death tolls that whatever need we have and express for aid, whether it's public health aid, economic aid, all electoral aid, no one in a position of power to do anything about it is going to. And it doesn't appear that there's anything on the horizon that will lead them to do that. If you don't believe, and I'm saying this to everyone, if you don't believe that they're expecting to just ride out past the election doing nothing significantly different than they are now, I don't know what you've been watching during this pandemic. And so the question is a general strike the only way to possibly get through to them? Is to get millions and millions, as many millions of Americans as possible to say, oh, you think the economy is doing just fine for you? Okay, well, let's see if we can do something about that. Is that the only way that we can possibly get through to them and force them to do something approaching their job?
Yeah. It's funny because you never hear about general strike in America. Anytime you go to Europe, it's someone's on some kind of massive strike getting like rights or whatever. But yeah, that's it. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see America affecting some kind of general strike. We just don't do it. It's not very us. It's this weird, I don't even like Stockholm syndrome of the people that you work for, that it's just, there's something about work is my identity in America, which is so crazy that it never gets to that. And this is one of those things that the main question for me, I guess, philosophically, as it relates to social media and mainstream, is I know that the news takes a lot of stuff from social media because it just makes journalism easier to go on Twitter.
I can attest to that.
What it does. It does. Is it like a pre-mainstream thing? Is it that the idea of a general strike will make its way into the streets of America tomorrow, or is the idea of doing a general strike something that is very real to this generation specific? Like you see Sunrise Movement, I know that's because you follow them and you always interact with them, that's listed as the example given. But
yeah, because I follow them, so they showed
right
up at that,
I know, but they surfaced up to that, but they also probably cross-reference it against like highest follower count to tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that an indication that America is moving more toward, in a number of years, being that general strike country?
I would say, I mean, I also question whether it'll happen, but I do think that we're a country where it could happen in a way that we weren't 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago. I definitely
But
think
at the
that's
same time, there's no union. America isn't the union country it was in, a few decades ago. Like
yeah, I get that.
There's no cohesive. There's a gig economy wildly hobbled by this. That I did read somewhere that like they're just going to stop they're going to stop in some cities. I forget which, but there is no unified worker identity like there was at a time.
Perhaps.
That's what the Democrats said. And maybe a thing about Joe Biden being that like old timey Democrat is he has the the opportunity to be like unions. Will he? Can he? But I know between now and then, that's not the window for the general strike we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I think I don't know what else could possibly get through to them, and if we don't get through to them, like how many people are going to die? How much economic damage? I mean, we see it,
well,
and
more people are going to die theoretically as a result of the general strike. I mean, I've heard people say like, we should just have had everybody stay home in the wake of this. And I hate to be like the practical guy, but people stay home in the wake of this. Like, who's going to get you your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, it's the great one of the great unanswered questions is, can America handle it? Is the ruling gajillionaire class insulated enough from this?
Yeah.
Like, while this is all happening, healthcare companies just they doubled their profits.
Yeah.
Because no one's just kind of going to the doctor to get checked out. So they just keep taking in premiums. That's one way that they're insulated from this pandemic.
Yeah, that's true.
You'd have to have every Amazon driver stop, but it's not like this. There's no Teamsters for Amazon drivers. There's just
I understand that, Brett, but obviously the debate is not whether 0 people or 100% of the population should strike. No movement, however popular, is going to cause that. But theoretically, you could reach a critical mass that would break through and cause. They're always worried about uncertainty, basically, in Wall Street. Maybe that could do something. And I also don't think what I think needs to happen is a combination of both the labor-focused general strike, but also a massive protest in particular in DC. There needs to be some sort of like we are supposed to be able to. No, I understand that. Yes, it is going to be big, obviously, and it is going to be complex, and it's not going to be up to me. But the thing is that they don't respond to the normal mechanisms we have for expressing our interests. I mean, that's been clear for a very long time. So something else needs to happen. And I don't know exactly what it is, but obviously we need to have a conversation about it, because right now we're being left to suffer and die during a pandemic, and they don't care. And they believe that they don't have to care. They believe that they're going to be reelected not caring, that in fact they can win the presidential election again not caring. And if we don't show them that they're wrong, then they're not wrong. Like, they believe that this is true, and I worry that they're right. And so something needs to be done. I don't know exactly what that is. It's complex. Maybe we can talk it out over the course of the next few weeks on the show, but we got to start having a conversation, because our government has fallen apart from top to bottom effectively. So we need to come up with something new to replace the normal checks and balances that we're supposed to be able to provide on our elected representatives. Okay, so
I just want to have a moment. When you said my name, I felt like I was getting a talking to. Brett, I understand that. And I was like, Mom, stop. What? Who? How?
It's not intended to be like
why are you mad at me? The hype train came in. We had a level 5 hype train. We had 700. We had 15 subs. I just want to say that Jordan Yule's watching the show right now. Really chill guy. Just gave out some subs. And I see like Irie Man, like 420, like scooped it up. And they're really like taking advantage of the Skeletors.
Yeah.
And the kittens. So hi, really chill guy.
Hi, Jordan. Welcome. Okay, before we get into other news, and there is other news, let's read a few of these super chats. Kai Allen was first through the gate with one saying, "You guys are the best. Thank you for keeping me sane in these times and speaking the truth I feel every day." In regards to Michael Cohen's new book, Schadenfreude. Yeah, and look, I wanted to talk about it on the show today. There's a million things I wanted to talk about on the show today. There was just too much, and while it would have been fun and it would have been perfect for Friday, it's just things are falling apart. I switch every day between how much can we afford to make ourselves feel better with topic selection versus how much absolutely has to be said that will have an effect. I don't know. But yeah, I wish we were talking about that. Let's see. Blue Heart Box says, "John, please feel free to host RuPaul's Drag Race viewings on Twitch. You and Brett can be the TYT pit crew." That's funny.
You do not want to see that. For me, anyways. John's got muscles somewhere, but I don't. And it's just like a weird. One time I changed on a set. Like I changed my shirt in front of one of the female, the whole crew and everything. And the female producer just goes, "Is that your body?"
Oh my God, that is devastating.
Yeah, I just lost it.
That's the sort of thing that sticks with you, and apparently it did. Okay, British says, "American doesn't do general strikes. What do you call the American Revolution?" Yeah, it's been a couple hundred years. Maybe we're due. Rachel says, my version of Good Friday. Today is my B-Day. The only thing I want for my birthday is to know Brett and John's favorite episodes of The Office. Mine's a Benihana Christmas. That is a good one,
Really
man. Happy
good
birthday. Brett,
Happy birthday.
favorite episode?
My favorite episode of The Office. Recently we watched the Gettysburg one. I just really like when Gabe does the whole
That's
Gettysburg address.
When he dies.
I don't know. Yeah.
That is funny.
I like it. And I do like when it's like, I like moments where they're like, listen, we like you. Stop trying so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I would say it's hard to say best episode. There's so many good ones. I mean, part of me wants to like throw out Scott's Tots just as a troll pick.
I hate you. I don't watch that one.
No,
I don't watch that.
that's
And
one that I skip. Yeah.
The one I like that no one else likes, it seems, is the dinner party. I love the dinner party.
Oh yeah, no, dinner party may actually be my favorite. It's too good. It's so good. Scott's Tots goes dinner party and then one extra step, and it turns out that's too much. But the correct answer is just the intro of Kevin's chili recipe.
Yeah.
That's the best episode.
It's a good one.
Love that. Anyway,
I just want to say that this. Wait, no, I was going to do Arrested Development where everybody gets to know each other in the pot. And I didn't want this all to get lopped in with the other shout-outs, but Obi-Mom Kenobi went off again. She's fantastic with her. She says, for my self-esteem, thank you for the bits, as well as a big chunk earlier and multiple subs. Always Obi-Mom Kenobi's fantastic. You're our only hope.
Thank you for that. And Really Chill Guy as well. Thank you for gifting those tier 1 subs. Pickerbell Pixie gifted one as well. Thank you for that. And we also have Pepper Z subscribed to tier 2. Thank you for that. Let's see. Pepper Z also said, Brett, it could be a bitrate issue on Twitch. Fuzzy looking cam. Yeah, but I'm seeing it even just here before.
No, I see it in my.
Blunderbeard 37.
Also, I have this awesome computer, and I think I need to steal my wife's camera that I was using over there.
I think you should do that.
Don't yell at me, John.
I have a spare
I've got
camera.
an awesome capture.
I have a DSLR piece.
Oh, I got a 4K capture card in this beast from Artesian Builds. Oh, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, go get a 4K. Okay, I have a 4K camera. I can give you anyway.
All right, I'm leaving.
Well, lend. Anyway, Blunderbeard says, "What's up, Dragon Squad? What's up, Blunderbeard?" And okay, let's jump ahead. Lots more news to get to. Here's a small one, but kind of a fun one. So there's been a lot of discussion about the Biden nomination. If he's going to be supported, what is it that is going to draw people to support him? And is whatever that variable is a good thing? Well, now we've got a little bit of data, although I'm going to make you wait for just a second. So I'm going to show you Donald Trump's numbers for this, and then we'll go to Biden. So the question is, what is it that leads you, the number one thing that leads you to support this candidate rather than the other in the presidential election? For Donald Trump, the number one answer with 23% of polls, or those polled, says leadership and performance. 23% of the country, or at least those respondents, are out of their mind. 160 plus thousand people.
I like that. No. That's not what they mean by performance. Not job performance. They like that it's all performance. It's just one big stupid performance.
That's a good point. 21 is his issue / policy positions. I would say they like him more for his issues rather than his issue. They like all of his personality issues. He is not Biden is 19%. That's true. 17%. He's for the American people and values. Which ones? Who cares? 16% are just doing it for purely partisan reasons. That's a pretty low number, actually. 11%, he tells it like it is, his personality. Oh, you do not want to be in an elevator with a his personality voter. And 12% is other. I guess QAnon? I don't know. Something like that. 13% wouldn't say. Just answer the question, America. Jesus. But anyway, before we move on to Biden, anything from that, Brett?
It adds up to more than 100, so it's just like, hey, what are your thoughts on anything? Do any of these look tasty? Mm-hmm. Load up your plate. I like that he is not Biden. Like the psychology of someone filling out a poll when that person is a Trump supporter is hilarious. Like you're kind of shocked. They must limit the number of things you can say, because I would say that probably if you're a Trump supporter, you're like, yeah, everything, all of the above.
Well, I believe for this you were allowed to pick one thing. I don't remember. I don't know exactly why. It could be rounding, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously more than 100. The way that it's worded in the larger graphic that I have is the main reason. I don't know.
Main reason.
Maybe they allowed more than one.
Gotcha.
But anyway,
Then they're just bad at following directions.
maybe that could be true.
Multiple
Now here's the thing. So let's show them the Donald Trump again for just a second, so you can get a feel for the distribution of answers, where that he is not Biden is. And now let's move to the Biden one. Coming in at number 1 with 56% of the vote, he is not Trump, which is also Biden's favorite thing about Biden, oddly enough. But anyway, and then you have basically very similar numbers of what's left at similar distributions as Trump, once you account for the fact that the majority answer is he is not Trump. So this is, I think, what we've suspected. It could be that that's to some extent a self-fulfilling prophecy, but regardless, is that a bad thing?
Well, what it tells me is there's something about Biden. It is that he's not Trump, but there's something about him. And with Donald Trump, there's really nothing about him. They're all kind of the same. You know, that's one way to look at this that I don't think other people are looking at it. Like, but the obvious thing to look at it as is most presidencies are a referendum on the incumbent. In a real election. New. Period. Yeah. And frequently it comes down to what you like about the new option or what you don't like about the previous option. But like, this makes sense to me because of who Trump is and how he runs the country. There's so much about him that people just need to stop. Yeah. They're just like, I can't anymore. This is ridiculous. Like, look around the nation. They're doing things right now to like seize ballot boxes. Because the new ballot box is not at your church. It's not at the local elementary school. The new ballot box is a mailbox, and they're just picking them up off the street. Like, this is psychotic. This should not happen in America, but it continues to happen in America. And I need it to stop. And in order for it to stop, I need someone who's not the current president.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if this exact same comparison has been done in past elections. I would assume that the challenger, he is not blank, is probably fairly large. As you said, these are referendums. Now, look, in an ideal world, as we've been saying for a long time, anyone who supported, for instance, say Bernie Sanders in the primary would hope that Bernie was the candidate and his issue/policy positions, or he is for American people and values, because for a lot of people, the way ideology works, those are going to sort of fill the same box, would be the huge percentage that it's, I'm picking this person for what they will do. That would be ideal. But looking at this, is it bad for Biden that a lot of people like that he's not Trump? Not necessarily. I mean, he's still winning in the polls. And I would say, I know that a lot of people will respond with, I've heard a lot over the last 4 years, don't vote based out of fear, or don't vote against something, vote for something. And I would have to say that with all due respect, I don't really think that either of those things actually means anything. I don't think that that's how voting works. When you choose between two things, you're doing a comparison. Some people might only think about one or two things when they do that comparison. Some people, if politics is their life, they might think about 20 or 30 or 40. But at the end of the day, it is a comparison between two things, and you choose one out of those. And by doing that, you're voting for something and against something. And the thing is, like, I know that it can feel good to present someone else's voting behavior as being this emotional reaction, that it's just fear. But I would say that for many of these people who would vote against Trump, no matter who the candidate was, first of all, they're allowed to be afraid. His policies are devastating. But really, like, that's sort of just a convenient out to say that they're just having an emotional reaction. What if they've been watching for 4 years and they oppose his policies? Can't they vote against that and not have it denigrated as an emotional thing? And I know if we're going to have this thing out there, too, that's, don't voter shame, that is a form of voter shaming to say you shouldn't vote based on fear.
It's such an insane, I'm sorry to call everybody out, but like, it's
I would say with all due respect, but yeah,
I'd say with all due respect, it's such an insane privileged position to be like, but how do I feel about this? Like, right now we're saving America from the end of America, and that should be the priority. And that should be the unifier. And we've done that in the past. Like, America has come together in the past to avert existential crises. It is such a privileged position to then do like the postmodern meta like looking back on who I am when I cast my vote, how do I view myself? Like, cool feeling if you can swing it. If you're insulated enough from the very real consequences that are befalling America, like, cool for you, but get over it. And that's not a
Yeah, look,
nice way to put it. And I'm being an analyst and not a cheerleader right now. Like, I mean, it is an insane privileged position to be in, I think, in my opinion.
well,
And
I'm just trying to be
very much,
understanding.
I always take positions like this, and someone says like one very real thing, and I go, "Oh my God, I'm such a beehole," but I don't see it right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, people vote for a lot of different reasons, and I think that we can try to understand it, or we can just sort of pitch it as something that's less awesome and intellectual and pure than the way we think about things. People are responding to their lives. That's what they're doing. Yeah, and
My
that's
wife just
this is
called
the
me
this is the
beehole
nominee we
for
have.
chat.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, one or two quick comments before we jump back into other news. Hitman with a big super chat saying, "Thank you for going live when I take lunch every day." Question: If Biden proposed legit reparation legislation, do you think that would be enough to get the BLM movement behind him? What would that legislation have to look like? So I don't expect him to do that, but I think that if he did that, that would be one of the bigger things he could propose during the election. Again, I don't expect it. And I think, look, I think that many of the people who consider themselves to be part of that movement, whether an active registered member or someone who just supports it or someone who feels similar to it, are probably going to end up supporting Biden anyway. But I don't know exactly what form it would have to look in. I am not an expert. I defer to the people who've done amazing work on what reparations should and could look like. I think it would be an interesting move that I don't expect him to make.
My guess is it would have to be messaged in such a way where it still reads as reparations for people who thoughtfully advocate toward reparations, but it need to be called like Repair America or something like that, so that it also is, these are tangible ways to reduce existing injustices as we look around and see them now, because and that's just like the political messaging behind it.
Yeah. Okay, with that, let's jump back into the news. Joe Biden decided to go into the lion's den by airing a new ad on Fox and Friends so that Trump supporters could actually watch it. Now, we're going to show you this ad, and we're also going to show you the context that it was run on Fox and Friends. It's a very powerful, very sad ad. And then they immediately go back into the show, and I want you to stick around for the end of the video to see how the transition back to Fox and Friends was handled.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
She was the most welcoming person you could ever imagine. Her home was the safe place. It was difficult to comprehend how quickly everything kind of spiraled downwards. We didn't even know that she had COVID till a week later in her passing. The president made a huge mistake in downplaying this virus. There was a lack of leadership, a lack of responsibility, and the lack of resources. I felt like our elderly have not been a priority for this administration, that they don't matter. And I feel like my grandmother didn't matter. The last time I saw my grandmother, we weren't going to be allowed in the hospital. We asked if we could video chat her, and everyone could say a little something. We gathered as a family, we prayed. But the fact that she was alone, it just breaks my heart.
We are family. Okay. So I did it. We can't, John. You can't.
We can't. Okay, so look.
I saw it.
Yes,
they
came back with "We Are Family" playing.
Family, get up, everybody! I'm saying, get up, everybody!
I should have thought that. You'd get a strike. I get that. Anyway, they came back to the actual music.
Pre-lap in post, John. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
we're family. We take care of each other.
Yeah, so after that devastating ad about the damage that has been done to countless thousands of American families, they came back with "We Are Family." Now, look, I guess in their defense, it is unlikely that they knew exactly which ad break it would be in, I think. So I doubt it was intentional. So it doesn't look good for the president, and that ad was devastating. And the thing is, look, I don't like, to some extent, some people might think it's, exploitative or something like that, but you could literally make 100 ads like that every day between now and the election, and everyone would be just as devastating, just as honest, and probably just as necessary to get people to realize that although many people have skated through the pandemic without, getting sick, without dying, lots haven't. And I think it's been too easy for people to forget about that. I see it all the time when I walk around my neighborhood and I see people without masks. I go to the park and literally almost nobody has masks. There's been so many people who moved on from this thing, but a lot of people aren't going to be able to.
Dude, it's so nuts. I go to the beach and see thousands of people just not care, like big bonfires, people gathered, no one, like a large portion of people don't care, and it's so frustrating. It is wildly all of it is frustrating, every aspect of it, because I talk to people who are like, listen, it's just like the flu. They're still saying that. That is an insane statement, because an average flu year, like a middling flu year, is what, like 35,000 to 45,000 deaths.
That's what they were saying in the beginning. Yeah, it's not the flu. The flu killed 35,000.
And during the flu, like, yes, that happens. We have a flu shot, so we've done all we can. And this we don't, and we've shut everything down, and it's still at 160, 170,000 deaths. Yeah. Anything past that, if you're still arguing, you're just trying to go back to some kind of normal. And I do understand that, but it is not normal. This is a weird, crazy time. We have to make these decisions and be these. And then I have people that I follow on Instagram all over the world, and they're back to normal. And a lot of them are back to normal.
They're at the beach, and yeah.
And we don't have that luxury because we thought we were living this luxury because we thought we had the luxury.
Yeah, and we could have. There are major countries that we talked about yesterday on the show. There are European countries that have logged days with 0 deaths, and we're bigger than them, sure. So maybe we wouldn't have 0, but it could be 50 or 100. It could easily have been 100. But unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, I think the single largest reason is complete lack of interest in protecting us on the behalf of the government. And that's, mostly Trump, but not just Trump and not just Republicans. We're not going to do that. And then you combine it with all of the particular personality characteristics of your average American. And I have come to the realization, and I'm sure many of you have as well, that we will not be safe from this until a rock solid vaccine is made available. There is just, not in America, not going to be safe, because we are not going to take it seriously. The government's not going to take it seriously. And if they're not going to, we're certainly not going to step in and do it for them. But anyway,
I want to say, that ad notwithstanding, watching Fox and Friends or any morning news show is that experience anyway. They're all victims and recipes. Like, that's the Today Show, that's Good Morning America. They're all like, and you watch like them go. And 40 people were murdered by bees. Coming up, how's your barbecue going to be with this new melon baller technology?
Yeah.
You're just like, what? That and that's huge. That's the usual. I feel crazy while watching that show.
Yeah.
But there should be some sense of responsibility that Fox and Friends feels when it's not the happenstance coming back from a sad commercial. Within their own show, they still do that. They're still saying hydroxychloroquine's cool. They're denying the fact that Trump said. They're trying to move on and hide the fact that Trump said, when left his own devices, inject yourself with demon semen or whatever.
Yeah. And that kids, like, shocked that kids can get it. Like last week, shocked that kids could get it. That might have been Monday this week, actually. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about the flu, too, I just want to mention, I try to remind people of this, as I did at the beginning when those comparisons were being made, when it was like, well, only 500 people have died from COVID. The flu killed 60,000. I want to remind people. We're in a COVID pandemic. The flu still happens. It's not like you trade it for COVID. It's still you can still slip off a ladder and die. All of the normal things that can kill you can still kill you. This is extra stuff. That's what makes it so bad. And also, as someone pointed out in the chat, generally, once you've survived the flu, you're not necessarily suffering lifelong lung damage, heart damage, other organ damage. It doesn't cause something similar to Kawasaki syndrome in kids. There are other issues, even if you survive this virus, that are not necessarily the case with the flu. It's just such a stupid comparison in literally every way that it could be. Now, with that said, why don't we move on to a different ad? Okay. Ed Markey is fast approaching the big primary with Kennedy. A needless primary where Kennedy, in pursuit of his own political ambitions, is deciding to take down Ed Markey, even though he's one of the better senators. In fact, on the issue of climate change, one of the best senators we have. Well, Markey's got a new ad. It's a 3-minute ad. You can see the full thing online. I just want to show you a section of it because it's powerful, and make sure you watch the last few seconds of it because there's an interesting little historical dig there.
There's an invisible contract we all signed at birth, a promise. Every hour we work means longer days of freedom and security. It paved the road in your neighborhoods, and it added up to a country. But when crisis hit, Trump's government abandoned America. We asked what we could do for our country. They looked for what they could take. But there's a truth written in every history book. If you break the sacred contract, the people make a revolution. All across America, the essential people are demanding a new deal. Well, they call me the deal maker. I put the deal on the table, but the people make it impossible to refuse. With 500 laws on the books, you think I'm going to stop now? They wish.
Green New Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey introduced their Green New Deal
to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs in the process.
We got to absolutely crush Donald Trump in November. But if we're going to end this era of chaos, that won't be enough. We got to make sure President Biden signs the Green New Deal. We can't wait.
You got to have folks in the United States Senate who are willing to stand up for working people. That's who Ed Markey is. I need Ed Markey in the United States Senate.
We asked what we could do for our country. We went out. We did it. With all due respect, it's time to start asking what your country can do for you.
That's pretty good. What do you think, Brett?
I like it. Battlestar Galactica references notwithstanding, right? Or is that all along the Watchtower?
All along the Watchtower, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Anyways, I love it. It was.
Yeah, Old Town Road in a Markey ad. That just seems a little bit weird, but yeah, it was the early part. No, it was powerful, and the full ad is like twice as long. You should definitely watch it. You know, we can't show you a 3-minute ad basically, but yeah, no, it's got a good stuff about his record. It shows that he understands, you know, what's happening in the country, where the country is going, what needs to happen. He put the need to pass the Green New Deal front and center. He said in his ad, while presenting himself as, you know, this obvious alternative to Kennedy, he also says, I'm going to challenge Biden. It's not just I'm going to do whatever Biden wants. Our only problem is Trump. So I love that. And then at the end, the little dig at JFK is obviously, you know, that's...
Well, it's not a dig at JFK.
It's not a dig, but it's a
dig at JK3.
Yeah.
Because he's running against Joe's grandson. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a dig, but I like it as a little moment.
It's absolutely, John, that is absolutely an attack on JK3. That is what it is. It is 100%. Listen, what we have here is a legacy Kennedy, by all accounts, D-bag, who's running for this seat. Why? Because he thinks he was born to be in that seat. Why? Because of Camelot. Camelot is a British royal trope that we need to get away from. You need to earn things in America by your accomplishments. That is the only thing this ad is about. This ad is just about, we're not going to put a Kennedy, we could put a Kennedy there if he earns it, but we're not going to put a Kennedy in my seat unless he earns it. And you know what's so sad about America? The sad truths is that name recognition is 9/10 of the law of elections. Like, people know the Kennedy names. And we all know that his twin brother, Matty Kennedy, is a much more fun person.
Yeah, it's possessing that name is 9/10 of winning the election, I guess. Now the issue is that, like, how could he not have known that a lot of people are going to see this race, this challenge against Ed Markey, who's, he's one of the good one of the better ones, would be like, what? So why are you challenging him, other than political opportunism and ambition? And I haven't heard an answer that I buy as to why now, why this race, why take out Markey. And it seems like it might be hurting him. So in a new poll, Markey leads Kennedy among Democratic and Democratic leading voters, 51% to 36% in the poll, with 12% undecided. That's much closer than the same poll back in February, where Markey was only up 3. And I saw a few polls where Kennedy was actually up by a little bit. It seems like, at least according to this poll, that things have moved much more in the direction of Markey, probably because
you said it was closer now, but you meant it's not.
I meant it was closer before, yeah. And so now he's up by a good bit, and I think that's partially the endorsements he's gotten, the institutional support from things like the Sunrise Movement, and that ad's certainly not going to hurt, I would guess.
It's good because I understand the instinct for a lot of American moderate Democratic voters, which is like, I know what's going on. And of course, what's going on. You've lived in America. You've made it. You've gotten by, and you know stuff about. You've paid attention to politics. And what's good about ads like this from Markey is, and that's the job of political advertising, is to let you know, frame things in a way that you could potentially see and say, actually, you're right. And I think what happens so often is you'll just see a Kennedy, and you'll say, I guess I got to do this. We had Teddy, and now we got, his grandnephew coming up. Why not? And I think Markey has done a good job of fending off the challenger. And I mean, I've met Joe, and I was in a frat with his brother, but like, I much prefer Markey in these situations.
You met Joe? Interesting. I didn't know that.
JK, this Joe, yeah. He was in SAE, much frattier than ours. Matty was fun, man. Matty Kennedy's, he's a Kennedy. They kept coming back from ski trips with like broken legs and stuff, and you're like, you gotta stop it. You gotta stop skiing.
Yeah, but you're gonna kill yourself.
Fun, crazy guy.
God, yeah, the frat talk. Okay, I want to show one other video though. I'm just joking with you. I know. It's very popular. Lots of people do it. I didn't. Anyway, it wasn't really a thing at my college. It was like 10% frat. Anyway, so one more video I want to show you. This is from the most recent debate between Markey and Kennedy, where they had a little interaction, but over basically super PAC support for negative ads against Markey, and it's just fun. Let's take a look.
Ads coming in. He says, I have no idea if my father, he's saying, I have no idea if my father is providing the funding for all of these negative ads that are being run, because they should be positive. Any super PAC for me should be positive, any super PAC for him. So here's what I would say to the congressman. I'm sure your father's watching right now. Tell your father right now that you don't want money to go into a super PAC that runs negative ads. And just tell your twin brother and tell your father you don't want any money to be spent on negative ads in Massachusetts in 2020 in the era of Donald Trump.
Senator, respond. I've said that multiple times.
Have you told your father that?
I've said that publicly multiple times.
Have you said it to your father?
Publicly.
Have you said it to your father?
Publicly, Senator.
Tell your father you don't want the money to be spent on negative ads.
Tell your father. Tell your father.
You gotta love it.
I knew Brett would love that.
You tell if my father ever tells me. It's so weird.
Don't you talk about my father.
I'm just picturing drunk Matty Kennedy in the. I can't. I'm too close to this one, John. I can't.
I thought this would be like the opportunity of a lifetime for you. You get to do the accent if you want.
I know. I just really like Matty Kennedy. He's so fun.
Yeah,
I don't know
the
what
Kennedys
to say.
are okay.
I love it. I like. It's just, God, it's a little out of body right now. But looking at that interaction, Markey. I mean, if I'm just analyzing the performance in the debate, that is a perfect performance from Markey. Just looking and saying, bringing up all these things that you know about Kennedys, the things that I said earlier. You just assume if you're just a generic voter, you're like, all right, the Kennedys, they took care of us for a long time. I'm gonna take care of them back. But then to say, oh my God, his dad, and there's another one.
Let me tell you about his father.
Yeah, let me tell you, back when we went to Hyannisport.
So hold on, there was a comment I want to read. It was, where is it? Kenny from Philly's like, OMG, Goodwill Hunting goes to Washington.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault, Joe. It's not your fault.
Yeah, I want a headline in 2 weeks after the primary, the next morning, how you like them apples.
You tell your father and your twin brothers, Bobby, Timmy, Ricky, Donnie, Billy, Kimmy, Toppy, Poppy, and Bo.
Wait, there was a little bit of Ted there. I don't know if you remember that part.
Like this. Ted was more like this.
I mean, when he was reading off all the women, the most common names. Anyway, yeah, no, look, it's a funny video, obviously, but Markey has to crush him. Like, again, we're not against primary challenges. You get to challenge someone. You have to make the case for why you're challenging them, though. It's not just like, I live here and you're in my way. And oh, and by the way, I never need to prove myself. I don't have to actually do anything because of the name that I was born into. No, you have to actually make the case. If you're going to be better on these issues, and he's trying to present himself as a progressive, by the way, if you're better than Markey, then show us why. Because I got news for you. The Sunrise Movement, yeah, they like Markey. Markey was involved in like initially sponsoring the Green New Deal. But if he was better than Markey on that, you might have a chance of swaying the Sunrise Movement and other activists to your cause. He hasn't been able to do that, and I would argue he's barely tried. He really does think, I'm going to flood this thing with money, and I'm going to use my name, and that's all it takes. But Markey, he's a much bigger name than he was a few years ago, again, for the best possible reason, because he gets the challenges we're facing, and he's putting forward actual solutions to them.
Well, I would just say better is your definition, and just to take you inside the mind of a political operative who is trying to message for their candidate going into an election where they have elected Republicans in Massachusetts, they get really frustrated with primary voters. And a lot of them are like, I don't care about the Sunrise Movement. And some of them can get away with not caring about the Sunrise Movement. But key to that is to avoid, if you're JK3's, advisor, is to help him avoid moments like that, where they remind folks that, Markey's been doing a good job of reminding people that, like, I am looking out to make jobs for people in ways that help America and the planet. And also, I did it myself, and I didn't need my dad to run negative ads.
Yeah. Yeah, needing help from your dad to win an election. Like, if it wasn't already clear that this is like, I'm just going to be given something, the fact that like your father is helping to give it to you, I don't know. Like, and after all the experience of Donald Trump, I think we want that even less than usual. Okay, let's read a couple of these super chats before you jump on. Let me tell you straight, says Brett it's a big super chat that just says Brett and crying face, like crying laughing face. They're very happy for you. Tails, another big super chat, says, love you, John and Brett. Love and hate with Fridays because it means garbage people, but also no TDR or TYT for 2 days. Day 144 of solo lockdown. I will be 29 soon. I'm getting really tired of living through a historical once-in-a-generation event always.
Yes. I was just talking, we had this meeting with like a production company who their kids are out of school, and they're going to, and just imagine being like 8 years old and 1/8 of your life has been spent in lockdown.
Crazy.
Like for us, it's like, this is a weird blip on the map. Hopefully, I have like 37 years of experience of not a global pandemic. But if you're a kid, you're just like, oh. And when I was a kid, like, I'd be so paranoid that during school a meteor would hit the school, like irrational fears.
Imagine you mentioned that last week.
If those crazy fears are rational.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Okay. A couple more super chats. Franklin Sharp Slicer with another poem saying, only ones economically healthy are those who are uber wealthy. But what makes me sore, how they treat the poor. The middle class lost their assets, not their liabilities. And the rich think we should be pleased. I might not have perfectly rhymed that, but good work.
John, I thought your cold reads were flawless.
I don't have the experience with Shakespeare you do.
Well, when in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, John.
What if it was disgust in men's eyes? Lil Yumper says that ad is sad, but annoys me that Biden puts that out and doesn't support Medicare for all for the families that don't have any coverage to get treatment. That's a good point. That's a good point. Gail says, looking forward to the garbage persons of the week. I know there are some new good choices this week. Yeah, I have no idea what Brett's is going to be, so that's exciting. Mm-hmm. Okay, Christopher Puttock says, OMG, have you seen the new Ed Markey ad? It's pretty awesome. No, I haven't, but I'll look.
John,
he sent that before we did the story. I know. Thank you. Paul says, is that your body? I just spat my whiskey out. So funny. Love and peace from Scotland.
Oh, good. I was like, what time zone are you in?
Yeah. No, some of these have been here for a bit. I have to sort of catch up. I try to go through. Okay, with that, we still have 2 stories to get to, so let's jump on into it. We're in the middle of a big tech battle royale, and it all started after Epic Games announced this morning that it was encouraging Fortnite players to bypass Apple's in-house payment system at a 20% discount. So they make Fortnite, you can buy the in-game currency. Normally you pay through Apple and they take a cut, but Epic wanted to do it themselves and offer it at a cheaper rate. Now that's an intentional violation of Apple's app policies. And in response to that, Apple has removed Fortnite from its App Store, claiming that Epic wanted a special arrangement that other developers don't get. That means that if you've already downloaded Fortnite, as many people have, 250 million people have played it. If you've already downloaded it to your iPhone or iPad, you can still use it. But it means that Epic won't be able to update the app. And so potentially a large number of users could get taken away. So that was the first volley in this battle royale. The second was that Fortnite also was then kicked off of the Google Play Store for Android. Nintendo, we're looking at you. Don't make any sudden movements. And so in response to that, Fortnite has put out an awesome ad. If you've played Fortnite, you know that they've got some good people with the animations and stuff. So take a look at this ad, see if it reminds you of anything where they break down the situation.
Today, we celebrate the anniversary of the Platform Unification Directives. For years, they have given us their songs, their labor, their dreams. In exchange, we have taken our tribute, our profits, our control. This power is ours and ours alone. We shall prevail.
So that's obviously a reference to the classic Apple ad. I think we have that we can put up as B-roll as we continue to talk. But Brett, this back and forth, who do you see coming out on top in this?
I see Apple coming out on top.
Really interesting. Yeah. Just because they're the platform holder.
Yeah, basically what they're arguing against, as I understand it, and correct me if you read it a different way, is that they're frustrated that Apple is the one who is able to basically say, listen, I've made this platform where commerce happens and I need to wet my beak. But instead of just wetting the tip of their beak, they're taking like 30% of all the take.
Yeah.
And this is Fortnite saying, by the way, I'm the biggest game in town, so why don't you give me most favored nation status at the very least? And maybe you could also, give them the benefit of the doubt, lower the amount that you're taking from other app developers and other people who are placed on the same commerce platform. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to throw their weight around because the ability to have the game on the platforms of Android and iOS came much later than the one they made all their money on at the beginning, which was PlayStation, Xbox, and PC.
Thank you for acknowledging that PCs exist. Because I think that's
I'm on one anyway. From our
Yeah, you are. So look, some people are saying they agree to the terms. Yeah, and I get that, but they had to. I think they can challenge it at some point. And look, the reason I pitched this initially as a big tech battle royale is because, look, if you're not interested in Fortnite, as the vast majority of you probably are not, this is still about the ability of companies like Google and Apple to determine the playing field, what they're going to be paid. And if you don't pay that, then what are you putting your game on the Windows phone? Like, yeah, you kind of have to. It's like Amazon. They become so big that at some point you kind of have to go along with it. The question, and again, Epic is not some small little poor indie developer. They've pulled in billions and billions and billions of dollars. That's what's at stake. The question is, does Apple, by having the platform and allowing Epic to, like, you know, host the game there and update the game there, do they deserve hundreds of millions of dollars for that? I guess that's the question. At what point, like, I understand you're going to take a percentage because you can't charge some indie new developer $100 million, but shouldn't there be some sort of cap? Like, you didn't make the game. You're not updating the game. You have a platform. And so these are questions that are going to have to eventually be worked out in court, because Epic, in response to Apple's response, says it's filing an antitrust lawsuit against Apple in U.S. District Court. It's also telling its Apple users they won't be able to play future versions of its game, quote, because Apple has blocked your ability to update. When Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 4 releases, you will not be able to play the new season on iOS. And they're hoping, and it's very clear in that ad, that if one platform doesn't have Fortnite, that could influence consumer behavior. Not necessarily immediately, but in the future, it potentially could. It wouldn't affect me because I think playing on mobile is a terrible experience. I don't see why anyone would do that, but I get that some people will.
It's all bots.
It's all bots, and you can't really control it. The issue for that strategy, though, is that now Google has also thrown them off the Play Store for Android. Google theoretically could have provided sort of a competitive advantage to themselves by being the platform that still has Fortnite. But the thing is, they also want control over the percentage of the in-app purchases they're getting. So it's just fire going in all directions here.
Yeah, this is when you look around, and it's great. Just kick the tires, see what's happening.
Mhm.
Or you know what it's like? It's like when I guess Indiana Jones like puts in Raiders, he like puts his like torch stick into the light beam and it immediately gets hit with a dart. That's what Fortnite's doing. They're just like boom, and it just all gets hit, and they're still safe because they have. I don't know what the breakdown is, and then also like. They do make a lot of money off of just random stuff you can buy, but there is a way. I think it's a genius move for them not to update it if you're Apple trying to be terrible, and Google trying to, quote, be evil, because that's what they're doing. You're just blocking the next season, because Fortnite makes it very easy for you to, if you play enough, get like the cool extras from the game, like enough cool extras from the game just by playing enough and leveling up and getting free V-Bucks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, although I guess we won't. It'll be behind closed doors. Who is going to really lose more out of this if this stretches to a week, a month, a year? And how does that influence? How long will they hold out if hundreds of millions or billions of dollars are potentially on the line? I don't even know what percentage of the player base is on mobile or makes their purchases on mobile, because couldn't you conceivably make the purchases on your PC, for instance, and then use the currency on mobile? It's a complicated world we live in. And the thing is, it's not like Apple can just be like, well, they already purchased the game, so they're not going to go purchase it somewhere else. It's free. So yeah, there's a lot of what makes modern gaming and tech what it is all being combined into this battle. And that's why I think that this is an interesting thing to keep an eye on, even if you don't care at all about Fortnite or gaming at all. This affects all sorts of apps, theoretically.
I also love that the hashtag, the like small hypocrisy is, it's hashtag free Fortnite, but it's all about how you can pay for Fortnite.
Totally. And how they'll make more money when they are making all the money. Yeah. There's no total good guy here.
Yeah.
Although Fortnite makes the ads that will probably be best in this back and forth. We'll see if Apple comes out with one.
I mean, it's insane for you to say that Apple doesn't make iconic ads when the ad that Fortnite made is based on an iconic Apple ad.
Yeah, true. And that ad came out like 7 years before I was born. I'm just putting that out there to confuse people.
That's insane, John.
But anyway, yes, it was an iconic ad, but what have you done for me lately? They had some good ads like 15 years ago, too. What's been going on lately? I don't know. I don't have TV. I don't watch commercials, so I don't know. Anyway, with that, Brett, do you know what time of the week it is?
And everyone, get your emotes ready. Get your emotes ready. Get your trash, people.
Yeah.
Just leave.
You know, I realize I didn't actually ask the team, including the director, whether they have this. I'm just assuming that they do and really hoping that that's the case. I actually don't know which of us is supposed to go first. Can you hold up one finger if it's me, too, if it's Brett? Whose elements are first? Okay, I'm going to be going first. Normally, Brett, I would defer to you. It looks like it's going to have to be me this time. Okay, so with that, why don't we launch into this? No, it matters. Okay, it's guessed right. Anyway, it's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash.
Bow, bow, bow,
Oh,
bow,
no.
bow, bow, bow,
Do we not have
bow,
it?
bow.
Oh,
Bow,
no.
bow, 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 bow.
Oh, really was hoping that would be smooth, but it wasn't. Anyway, we'll put it in post. Okay, so it's time for garbage, people. So why don't we talk about my garbage person first, because that's what we're going to do. Okay, so my garbage person of the week is someone who isn't generally my garbage person, but I think that they deserve it this time. It is one president of these United States, Donald J. Trump, for a particular reason. And I want to show you what that reason is. He's been doing his press conferences recently. Here's a question that he fielded. Take a look at this.
I have two questions. The first one on domestic politics. There are claims.
Can't understand a word
There are
you're saying.
claims circulating in social media that Kamala Harris is not eligible to run for vice president because she was an anchor baby. I quote. Do you or can you definitively say whether or not Kamala Harris is eligible, meets the legal requirements to run as vice president?
So I just heard that. I heard it today, that she doesn't meet the requirements. And by the way, the lawyer that wrote that piece is a very highly qualified, very talented lawyer. I have no idea if that's right. I would have assumed the Democrats would have checked that out before she gets chosen to run for vice president. But that's a very serious. You're saying that they're saying that she doesn't qualify because she wasn't born in this country.
Okay, so I obviously hate that answer. I hate that it took 72 hours for us to launch back into birtherism and all that. But I would also say, as much as I hate the answer, also hate the question. Why are you pitching it as being up to him whether she is eligible or not? I don't know who the questioner was. No, she is eligible, as we'll get to. You don't set it up as a thing that he gets to decide. And by the way, he used that because the last thing he said in that video was, oh, so you said she's not eligible. And I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm not making claims. I'm just saying some guy said it, and, we don't know. And the Democrats really should have checked it out. Apparently they didn't, so I guess she's not eligible. In that, he appeared to be referring to a widely discredited op-ed article published in Newsweek, by the way, the new Newsweek, by John C. Eastman, a conservative lawyer who's long argued that the U.S. Constitution does not grant birthright citizenship. It's an interesting idea. That's also not true. It's ridiculous. And just because he happened to have gone to law school at some point in the past doesn't make it any more true, as well as anything related to it, such as whether Kamala Harris is eligible to be VP. It's not just Trump, by the way. You also have, let's bring up this Dave Weigel tweet. Jenna Ellis, one of his advisors, retweeted Tom Fitton saying, well, we're just asking questions. We don't know. No, but we do know, though, because under the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Senator Harris was born to immigrant parents in Oakland, California. That fact alone makes her a natural-born citizen and thus eligible to serve as either president or vice president, regardless of what Jenna Ellis or Tom Fitton or some discredited lawyer or Donald Trump think about it. It is as simple as that. And so it's garbage.
So in the tournament to become Attorney General of California, this guy, John C. Eastman, was eliminated in the semis. He ran to be Attorney General and lost in the primary that led to the election that Kamala Harris ended up winning. This guy is Captain Sour Grapes. This guy also wrote an op-ed about how, no, Ted Cruz was born in Canada as his parents were voting in Canada. And it's very obvious that guy can be president.
Yeah.
The Republicans are the worst at this because let's just go through the list of Republican primary candidates who were born in other countries. John McCain was born in Panama. Mitt Romney's dad was born in Mormon colonies in Mexico, and he ran for president, was in debates and everything. And it is insane to me that these guys. I mean, it is an insane thing to do. It is not based in reality. It is exactly the 1,000-hand slap of Donald Trump, where it's just like, I'm going to say anything, and I'm going to say 1,000 dumb ideas that will just muddy the waters, and you will not be able to focus on any one. And it's also so lazy. It's just like, what's that bag that I have? Let's just do birtherism. She's brown.
Exactly. Yeah. And we'll remind people, back in 2012, he tweeted, an extremely credible source has called my office and told me that Barack Obama's birth certificate is a fraud. We don't know for sure if that was John C. Eastman, who was that incredibly credible source, but never turned up anyway.
That was pre-rando capitalization, Donald Trump.
Exactly. That's true.
Like,
he got that at some point. And so
he abandoned he abandoned the shift key altogether because his apostrophe. He uses apostrophes.
Exactly.
AutoCAD and apostrophes. What a turd.
And so someone in the chat was like, Trump is forcing John to defend Kamala. But see, that's the thing. Like, you defend or don't defend based on the substance. She gets to be VP. I don't necessarily prefer her over other people, but that's for other reasons that have nothing to do with birtherism. That's all policy. She gets to be.
I like the choice of Kamala for this reason. I mean, isn't my favorite choice. I'm the same as you, but I like the thing because Trump is so triggered by Kamala Harris as the nominee because she's good TV.
Mm-hmm.
He's doubtless like she's a hottie, and also like she keeps it together in a very specific television way. She's not the Law and Order candidate. She's not just the Law and Order candidate. She's the Law and Order, the TV show candidate. She's Law and Order DC. She's going to examine the guy and just sit there and do it in a way that people at home watching appreciate the performance of on a subconscious level, as they did during the Kavanaugh hearings and as they did when she went after Biden during the debates.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to sort of quickly sum up the week, because the thing is, you know what the Democrats do? The Democrats always just label people racist when they're not, and they just do it to disqualify them. They just do it no matter what. Why are they freaking out? I mean, they only spent the first 3 days of Kamala Harris as the VP pick, I should say the right did, saying that she was mean and angry, and now also not qualified, as every person who is one shade darker than eggshell white will be smeared for the rest of their lives. It doesn't matter. And the thing is, you brought up the Mitt Romney's dad and the John McCain thing. And yes, to some extent, controversy was raised about that. And it's ridiculous because they're allowed to run if they want to run. But the thing is that John McCain faced what percentage what Obama did? A tiny little bit. I saw one or two people talking about Ted Cruz even back during that, but it's a tiny little bit. This is opportunistic racism because they know what their base wants. Their base wants to believe that it is constitutionally impossible for any non-white person to become president, and this is a convenient way to believe that. There will always be some theory about where they were really born or where their parents are really born or who is an immigrant or whether it counts or anything like that. She is because she happens to be black, she's going to be a mean, angry person who's not allowed to be in the position she's going for. That's all it is. And that's what the election is going to be. There's plenty of things they could criticize her on in policy. They're not going to do that. They're just going to use misogyny and racism, and we get to call it out because that's what it is.
My favorite tweet about calling Kamala Harris angry, which she's not. She is just like every other politician in that she's ambitious and she does whatever it takes to get to the next level. They all do. But when they said
man or woman, they all do.
Man or woman. Definitely, like, are you kidding me? Look at every Republican senator right now doing anything they can to keep their seat.
Well, and look at Joe Kennedy, our criticism of him earlier.
Yeah.
It's the same criticism.
I am saying that she is a politician. Okay. She is that politician. She doesn't make rich people angry. She knows how to isolate her donors from criticism or insulate her donors from criticism, all of that. But the idea that you're going to call her angry, my favorite tweet about it, there were two. There was one about the Kavanaugh hearing, and they said, here's how I remember that. And it was a photo of Kamala like this, very calm, and and Kavanaugh like, oh, he's like, oh, this is horrible. God, I like beers with
I
squeeze.
like beer. I like beer.
He was a little whiny Brett, Okay, so there's that. And the second one was the only angry woman I saw at and this is sexist and terrible, but the only angry crying woman I saw at the Kavanaugh hearings was Lindsey Graham.
Oh, okay.
And they
he
had
was the
angry.
angriest.
Just like,
He freaked out. He really did freak out. God.
But
yeah.
that
So
in
garbage.
a context of going after people based on how they frame things and tropes and the kind of folks they are to get under their skin, I liked that response tweet about Lindsey.
Yeah. So what about you, Brett?
Mine is an oldie but a goodie, and I know we're not going to cover it on main show, so I wanted to get it in here. Alex P. Jones, I don't know what his middle one is, but Alex Jones, pretend there's a photo on my phone, I didn't prepare, is a garbage person. I was wondering where he was because I thought something about being found guilty of doxing victims of child shootings. But no, he went to John's old stomping grounds in Austin, Texas, to try to get into the Barton Creek Greenbelt, and his wife did, and she was turned back because she didn't have a reservation. Do not cross. Do not cross Alex Jones. Here he is.
Well, the past, I've been coming here since I was in high school and college, and now you guys use your COVID hoax to like set a checkpoint up so you can take over the parks and start charging. It's unconstitutional. This is not even a city ordinance. This is a illegal power grab of the people's greenbelt, and it's time to free Austin. So are you guys volunteers for the city of Austin? Who are you, masked man?
I'm a lifeguard for Barton Springs.
You're a lifeguard for Barton Springs, now part of the criminal power grab.
I'm a lifeguard?
I'm a lifeguard.
No
Who are
running?
you, Jude?
No, my job is to say no running. So, and I love that.
Say no running.
Like, I love it. Alex Jones. It's like, when I picture his day. He's like, nobody listen to me. I keep getting in trouble because I keep telling people where families of child shootings live. And it's not easy. And his wife is like, oh, God, I tried to get out of the house to dodge time with you for a while. He's like, why are you back so early? And she says, I couldn't go to, don't worry, it's just the creek. And he's like, oh, a thing to do? Where's my comically tiny megaphone? And then
it is comically tiny.
He continues with his comically tiny megaphone. Watch.
This is outrageous criminal activity. This is the seizure of the infrastructure of Austin. It is all color of law garbage. My wife came here this morning when you cult member Turks showed up here, and you asked her, where's her reservation? Her reservation is that we live in a free country. We live in America. I call for everybody out there watching. The time for civil disobedience is here. I want this removed tonight. COVID-19 is a power grab hoax.
At that point, like, a guy walks in front and flips off the camera.
Yeah. By the way, Barton Springs is awesome. It's one of the things I miss most about Austin. It is critical infrastructure, though, so how dare they seize it? So the bad, serious thing is that he is hoping that his crazed followers will go there, and then God knows what happens. And so I'm worried for the lifeguards there that he's now making it a target. But also, let's bear in mind, maybe he doesn't have as much influence as he used to, because he's just like talking to people who don't even care that he's talking to them. Like, how diminished is Alex Jones? They're not interested. But then really fast, so you mentioned that the fact that his megaphone is comically small. A few other things I noticed about his megaphone. One, that he's using a megaphone. Everyone's right near you, dude. Just talk. And then two, when he uses the megaphone, somehow his voice doesn't get any louder. It's like, he already is a megaphone. It isn't amplified through the technology.
It's all it is distorted. Like
It's
everything
distorted.
else coming out of his mouth.
And he said it's a hoax, by the way.
I love that
Still
haircut.
a hoax. Yeah, no,
there's so much great happening with Alex Jones. Like his attempt to be like, there's a jawline. My head is not just a beach ball with a face painted on it.
God, what he is like, the worst thing about Austin is that the highways are too small. The second worst thing about Austin is Alex Jones. It really stinks.
Just about the facts, was like, "No, you can't tell people to come here by a reservation." Yes, you can. Essentially Amanda Ross, Natural Resources Division Manager at Austin Parks, said a city ordinance gives the department the authority to manage public lands with a reservation system or limit access. So that is a city ordinance. It is real. And I love the guy who's like, I'm a lifeguard. I sadly know who you are. And I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, now there's something to do here besides say, do you have a reservation?
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah, what a sad. You know what? And I know that some people used to watch him just for fun. It's not fun anymore. He's just kind of a pathetic parody of himself. Just go on YouTube and just search Tuck Buckford. It's the same thing but more fun. It's actually funny. And nobody gets doxxed. Okay, Brett, really fast. I just need to mention who the community garbage person of the week is. Over at the community tab, every Thursday, we post the top 4 suggestions so that you all can vote. 16,000 of you did yesterday. And with 76% of the vote, that's about the highest I've ever seen. Trump's Postmaster General for sabotaging the Postal Service. That is a very good pick. I definitely support that. Next, we have anti-maskers for harassing essential workers. That's 11%. And technically that's crossover with Brett. And 7% Ben Shapiro for subjecting us to a swap performance. And 6% the bikers and Sturgis for flooding the city during a pandemic. So 4 good choices there, but what a runaway winner. So thank you to everybody who voted in that and made those suggestions. Brett, as always, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you.
Thank you, and thanks to Norma for making the emotes, and everybody for using them, and Ike Dar for the gifted subs, and all you folks. Watch Happy Half Hour tonight. My wife, the Brooke Marks, is on it. And then later after that, as we said, but our mics were off before the show started, obviously, Common Room tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Bree Esrig from the old Pop Trigger days and SourceFed and all that. And then Ellery Smith, great comedian, and then Smastron from Twitch will be on, and you're going to love it.
Nice. Sounds like fun. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
And everybody still at home, I'm going to read just a couple quick super chats because we are way over. But Kelly Quigley says, I love when Brett cracks up. So happy, so real. John gets so happy when he cracks Brett up, like a little kid telling a bad joke. Hey, Francesca should be Gamora. She's beautiful and kicks ass. So that's a good suggestion right there. Let's see. Charles Massey says, I have friends that work at Epic, and I totally stand with this. Platforms should give more to the developers. Sounds good. Paul Pennington says, Apple lawsuit for breaking their own phones. Apple lawsuit in EU, and now Epic Games. Apple thinks they are God. Let's see. C-Dub says, my kids do that with garbage cans all the time, John. That's over on Twitch. It's funny. Wild Mustang on Twitch says, Brett, the best part of TDR, Fridays. Sorry, John. Okay. Morik says, if Trump loves the poorly educated people, wasn't calling AOC a bad student actually a compliment? Hashtag plot twist. Yeah, if there was any consistency whatsoever to him. But he also considers himself a populist, and they continually attack people for having working class jobs. So none of it makes any sense. But anyway, we are way over. Everybody, as always, continue to check the channel for our interviews, which we conduct every day, including today. In about 25 minutes, I'm going to be speaking with Dolores Huerta. We're going to have an awesome conversation about the labor movement, what's been going on recently, what can potentially happen when Biden potentially becomes president. So you're definitely going to check for that. We're going to create a playlist at some point for all of those to make it a little bit easier for people who watch live to know which ones are new. But for now, you just got to check the channel. And with that, thank you, everybody, for joining us throughout the week. Hope you had a lot of fun, learned a little bit. We'll see you soon. Stay safe out there.